Actually, that's Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
I always go back to him.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that chat he has with Father Zosima, the lady with Father Zosima? If it weren't for these... I was also talking about Dmitri. Dmitri wanted to just fly away with Grushenka. If it weren't for these people, this place, the situation I've got stuck in. If I could just fly away, take her to the end of Russia, marry her there, settle down incognito, a whole new pure life would begin. It must be pure. You know, and so we have this like fictitious view of certain places on earth that I could go and finally be perfect.
Yes.
But then you go to Lisieux and you're like, oh, there's taxis and parking lots and like, this isn't it. So I'll go to Tibet. But they also have plumbing and car lots and you're like, well, maybe if I could have lived 500 years ago. And then you've got Thérèse who's wrestling with atheism on her deathbed. You're like, there's nowhere to go.
Yep. Exactly.
Talk about that. Talk about Thérèse on her deathbed and what was edited out and what she actually talked about.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, so the edited version, again, just go back there real quick. So it was up until about 1950, it was the only version of Story of a Soul. But then a couple Carmelites, one especially Blessed Marie Eugene, the child Jesus, he was vicar general at the time of the order. He asked her sister, release the whole thing. He knew it was there. He had seen some of it before. And he said, it's time. The world needs like the whole Thérèse, everything. And so he eventually had it so that the 3 manuscripts that she wrote that kind of were edited to combine into Story of a Soul were just released and printed and published. And so people could just see everything that she wrote, in terms of her autobiographical manuscripts. And so they discovered a lot of different things, like a lot of anecdotes. One cool thing is nothing substantial was missing in the old one. Like nothing that like, kind of like we didn't discover anything like new about her spirituality, let's say, or like have some like, oh, like we didn't like Thérèse was like crippled before and now we see the whole thing. Like, no, that's the cool thing. Like they retained the whole spirit of Thérèse, but we get anecdotes that help a lot, and different like, just stories of things. And the temptation against faith is a good example of that. Like we did see it in the old edition, but the new edition, I think, allowed like more of it to be brought out. And like she gets to this point where she says, like, I can't even write about this because I'm afraid I'm going to make you start doubting the faith, because she had just this, here's a good little girl that all she did was live for heaven, that was like everything to her. All she wanted to do was just be with the Lord, be with her parents again. And then all of a sudden, it's like that's cut off. The moment she knows she's about to die, she has 9 months to live, or I forget how long at the point, maybe a year and a half to live. It's like everything is cut. Her whole experience of faith, she can't enjoy faith anymore. She can't enjoy the thought of heaven. It doesn't give her strength anymore. It doesn't like give her peace to like keep going through this valley of tears. It's like all of a sudden it looks like she says just this wall, and there's nothing there. And there's a part in Story of a Soul. It sounds like almost like a nihilist or something, where she says like this mocking voice says to me like, rejoice in this heaven that awaits you. When you die, you're gonna find not only that it's not there, but the night of nothingness. And she's like, and now I'm afraid I don't want to say more, So it's like
she says that,
in
the manuscript. Wow.
Yep, manuscript C. And so so that was a real like. So she, in a way, like it was in solidarity, with all those people who struggle with faith. And like you said, like she's in a Carmelite convent, like the perfect place for contemplation and living for God alone.
Yeah, and in Catholic France with a Holy Mother and Father.
Yes. Yeah, right. With saints, parents that are saints. Yes. Yeah. I know. And even her own sisters that are there to like kind of support her, like her blood sisters. She has like 4 blood sisters or 3 in there. And yet, it doesn't matter. Like she experiences all the angst of the world, and that's maybe you could say is part of the Carmelite vocation. It's like, you are in solidarity with all those who suffer and all the spiritual ills, especially that people go through. Like she took it on, not in this way of like, I'm going to do this for sinners so that therefore like God will be merciful to them. I'm just kidding. But it was like, no, I'm in solidarity with them and I'm going to pray on behalf of them, but not anymore as like, it's me and them or something, it's like, no, like I'm with them and I love them and I'm going to pray for them because I know what they're going through. So in a way it's like, she couldn't escape, but she was able to like use that experience to help so many people, and just to know that she went through that is like, it's always a help for me when I have temptations against faith or things like that. It's like, no, I'm not like a terrible person because I have these temptations. Yeah. It's just how it is, but I have to just deal with it as Thérèse did.
One of my favorite anecdotes, the thing I like to tell everybody is she's on a deathbed, 24. It's wild. And her sisters say, and you correct me at any point if I'm getting anything wrong, it's no wonder you're so confident of heaven. We don't think you've committed a mortal sin in your life. Yeah. She says, it's not because of my lack of confidence that I go to God. Not because of my lack of sin that I go to God with confidence. Even if I had committed all of the sins imaginable, I would still be this confident because I know too well what to think of his mercy. She says something like, I've seen how he spoke to the woman at the well, etc.
Exactly.
I would go, my heart bleeding and broken, and in that act of repentance, she says, in the twinkling of an eye, something to the effect of, all of that sin compared to his mercy is like a drop of water flicked into a raging furnace.
Right. Oh, thank God.
Could it be that good?
Yes, exactly. It's exactly.
Yeah. It's the good news.
It is the good news. And I think it's all the gospel. It's not like it's just some different thing. That it's the gospel. And it's as in I believe in love, right? If it's too good to be true, it is true. Like that, God is the source of that. So we can believe that. We can believe it. And you think all of the sins in the world, what does that mean? There's a lot of crazy, awful,
depraved. And, Margaret Mary Alacoque's spiritual father said the same thing. I glorify you in making known how good you are towards sinners, that your mercy prevails over all malice, that no matter how many times we fall or how shamefully or how criminally, and a sinner need never be driven to despair of your pardon.
Yes.
It is in vain that your enemy and mine. This is why it's so important that we retain the belief in the true fact that we have an enemy and it is not God.
Right.
Because it's like when you stop talking about the enemy and Satan, it's like you start to look at God perhaps with more suspicion. It's got to be someone's fault that I'm this stupid,
There's a good, I don't know if you saw this image I sent. If you get a chance.
I love it.
All right, nice.
Thank you for that.
It's the enemy, Therese letting her little petals fall.
Yeah, what is that? And so for those who aren't looking at this, it's Thérèse of Lisieux dropping petals on a demon and he's burning, which is kind of badass actually. So, but what does that mean exactly?
Well, I think it's the demon, what he's afraid of the most is like humble confidence in God's love, in God's mercy. Yeah. And that's what she's come to bring us. She's like the harbinger of that, right? She's the trumpet of the good news. And so the little petals that are the favors that she bestows, like it's to help people have confidence that of just what you said, that no matter what you've done or no matter what you could have done, it's nothing compared to God's mercy, and that his mercy does all. So it's like, so what hurts the evil one the most than those like little petals, right? Of those spiritual graces of trust, of confidence, no matter what, like that undermines everything that the devil wants to do in us.
Yeah, I feel like there's this recurring theme throughout this interview that might have to do a lot with Carmelite spirituality. I'm thinking of the line in the Our Father, fiat voluntas tua, Again, it's about the other. It's about what he's doing. Yeah. It's about my trust in him. Yes. But too often our spirituality can be about what I can do to somehow earn your love. Yeah.
Right. And to break free of that is not easy because we're so conditioned towards that.
And there's an enemy who has it within his interest that we don't become free of that. It's not just you being unable to let go. There are temptations to not let go.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, totally. And especially in the vulnerabilities, like, because we all have certain things too where we're more inclined that way. Yeah. And it's like the enemy knows, and he knows what to push. He knows how to push our buttons.
This is what I love about the charismatics, like when they pray, let's say at a big festival or prayer gathering. I love the spontaneous praise because they do two things usually. They tell God who he is, and they tell God who God thinks I am. Nice. That's pretty great. Yeah. It's like we have to keep reminding ourselves who we are and who he is.
Yes.
Because we forget.
Yes. And actually, I think if you look at like even someone like Saint Thérèse, that's the basis of it all. It's like who God is, because we talk about like doing little things with great love or different ways that even the attitude of confidence, let's say, is good, of course, trust, but who God is, that's really what it comes down to. And like, so to be able to get that right, you kind of have to start there. And that's what Thérèse, that was like the big revolution, was like, God is merciful love. Like, and it's not just that he has merciful love or that like, that's part of him. Like he has all these attributes, right? He's all powerful, all good, all this, all union, all unity rather, all knowing and all loving. it's like, yes, he is all those things, but merciful love is who he is, like more than anything else, you could say. And like, that is the lens through which I can see every other part about God. Like that's all he wants to do. Like even his justice wants to just pour his mercy out on me, because in his justice, he knows my fragility, he knows my weakness. I love that. Right?
Yeah, that was, didn't Therese say that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to expand upon that? Because I think that's so helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Well, just the milieu of her time, it was like there was a kind of movement of just like proclaiming God's justice, especially after the French Revolution. So much awful stuff had happened, so much sin. And it's like, we need to appease God's justice on behalf of like all these sinners, And so by doing that, it's like, I almost take on his just wrath on myself so that others can be spared, So there's a core of truth in that, right? There's a core of goodness in that, of generosity, of love, but it misses out on God as a loving father, And so Thérèse was surrounded by that milieu. So that idea of justice kind of haunted her in a way because of that, and seeing justice as this way of like God almost like getting at us on the sake of other people who've sinned. And so she said in her discovery, through her prayer, through her own reflection and just mystical graces, hidden mystical graces that God was giving her, she discovered that like, and especially through the gospel, that no, like God's justice actually is merciful love too. So it's like, so his justice isn't so much looking out for like how I've messed up or like needs to correct this thing that I should be punished for. His justice sees my weakness and sees how poor I am.
Takes it into account.
It takes into account.
So it's like, God's just. Oh, thank goodness. Yes, Therefore, he must take into account how weak I am. And
yes.
Yeah.
And how much I need love. Like he's created me to be this like gaping wound of love or need for love. It's like, so all the more in his justice does he want to fill that and pour himself out into my life, because I'm like pure need.
I want to tell you about Hallow, which is the #1 downloaded prayer app in the world. It's outstanding. Hallow.com/Matt Fradd. Sign up over there right now and you will get the first 3 months for free. That's like a lot of time. You can decide whether it's useful to you or not, whether it's helpful. If you don't like it, you can always quit. Hallow.com/Matt Fradd. I use it. My family uses it. It's fantastic. There are over 10,000 audio guided prayers, meditations, and music, including my lo-fi. Hallow has been downloaded over 15 million times in 150 different countries. It helps you pray, helps you meditate, helps you sleep better. It helps you build a daily routine and a habit of prayer. There's honestly so much excellent stuff on this app that it's difficult to get through it all. Just go check it out. Hallow.com/Matt Fradd. The link is in the description below. It even has an entire section for kids. So if you're a parent, you could play little Bible stories to them at night. It'll help them pray. Fantastic. Hallow.com/Matt Fradd.